Welcome to the Genesee Theater, my friends. The night air is chill and you need to hear some stories.
My name is Megan Wells. I am the artistic director. This is our 9th year for the Ray Bradbury Storytelling Festival. That means next year is our 10th year, and Ray Bradbury's daughter will be coming, and we are going to pack the house. Here we are, getting reminded of how alive we are. In this 1-hour concert, we have brought you 3 international tellers. We're going to bring them to the stage one at a time, so please put your hands together for our first storyteller, Chris Fascione.
Thanks, Meg. Hello, hello. Repeat after me. Good. That's for the Waukegan Public Library. Put your hands over your head like this. Take your right ear, move over, touch your right elbow. Now, the left ear goes to the left elbow. Right ear, right elbow. Left ear, left. Ooh. Dee, 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 dee. All the way around. Hey, you want to see something really scary? You want to see something twice as scary? Go ahead, give it a try. That looks good, front row kids. My 3rd graders right there, guys. Oh, 2nd grade guy. Nice, kids. Come on, parents, show me what you got. Let's start with the story with some helpers. I need 3 volunteer guest actors. That's right. I need helpers. Anybody celebrating a special day, maybe an anniversary, a reunion, graduation, a birthday? Come over here, kiddo. And let me come over here. Anybody over here want to help out? We have one. We have 2. Would you come up here, kiddo, with a hat? Thank you. That would be great. And where is that 3rd person? She's wearing glasses. I wear glasses. I like them. Those look like my glasses. Are those my glasses? I can't tell. I don't have my glasses. Come over here. Let's walk up the stairs, and when you walk up, everybody in this Genesee, all 2,400 of the folks out there are going to go into a big, major round of applause. Come on, kids. Remind the adults how that works. It's a round of applause. Yes, a circle is round. It's a round of applause. It's a 5-year-old punch. Should we try square? Square of applause. Show me square of applause. Anyone? Triangle of applause. And just for fun, you math-savvy 7th grader, right? The trapezoid of applause. You're laughing because I know I just did a rhombus. Hey, you 3. I don't know, I was a theater major. My name's Mr. Chris. What's your name?
Jordan.
Hi, Jordan. And how old are you today?
9.
How old were you yesterday?
8.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jordan, who's 9 today. Happy birthday to you. Are you in 3rd grade, Miss Jordan?
Yeah.
Come Monday, you are, I suppose. Excellent, good. You can stand right over here, Miss 3rd grade Jordan. She's gonna help. Hello, kiddo, you're getting tall. What's your name?
Jenna.
Hi, Jenna. I like that name, Jenna. How old are you?
12.
Are we talking 7th grade?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Miss Junior High. How's that going, by the way, Miss Jenna?
Good.
Good answer. Your parents may be here listening. You can stand right here, Miss Jenna, next to Miss Jordan. Jenna, Jordan. Hi, what's your name, Jane?
Denario.
Perfect. Denario, that's a pretty name. I like that name, Denario. How old are you, Denario?
12.
What is this? A whole theme. Here we go. A whole theme at junior high. What do you think about 7th grade?
Good.
Good. You can stay over here, Denario, next to Jenna, who's next to Jordan. You guys have a part 2 in a story that may not be true. Oh, I like this story. It is kind of creepy. It is a ghost story. It is a ghost story. And before I teach Denario and Jenna in the middle there and Miss Jordan, birthday Jordan, their parts, you guys get to make this creepy sound because you get to play the ghost. This is the scariest sound that I can remember from when I was your age, when I was a kid, way back when, in the olden days, the 70s. I will never forget, we had chalkboards in the front of our classrooms, and our wonderful teachers would sometimes pick up a brand new piece of chalk that was about 1 foot long. And if you didn't hold it just right, it would snap, and the chalk would snap. Our wonderful teacher's wonderful fingernails would slide right down the board. So here, put your fingernails out there. Make a scary face and give it to me. Spine-tingling, blood-curdling, hair-raising. Icky. When it's your turn. Have fun. Up here, we're protected. Our three actors, Jordan, Jenna, and Denario. You get to play the hound dogs. Oh, it's good to have hound dog. Wait a minute. If there's a ghost, you can't see a ghost. Why would a hound dog be a good thing to have around, kids? What do you think, Mr. Vance? Hound dogs would be... Oh, you're right. They could sniff out and find the ghost. We have 3 hound dogs right here, and these hound dogs have very special names. The tallest hound dog right here, her name is You Know. The second hound dog, her name is I Know. And the third hound dog, her name is Come to Go Calico. I know, must be a family name, hyphenated. Wait till you have to write checks. Okay, You Know, I Know, and Come to Go Calico. You guys get to make a hound dog bark, a hound dog growl, or a hound dog howling sound. They're actors. Raise your hand, kids. Have you ever been on a stage before? Probably not like this one. Wow. Okay, you can put your hands down. You ready, kiddos? When I say your hound dog name, You Know, I Know, and Come to Go Calico, have fun and give us a nice loud hound dog sound. You know! Yeah, give it up for Jenna! I know! Woof! Donario! And birthday girl, Come to Go Calico. Oh! Yes! All right, hound dogs, here's what we do. Come over here. You know, I know, Come to Go Calico. Sit right there. That's where the hound dogs, they're going to stay out there. They're going to be out on the porch. And I get to play the old man who lives all by himself in the deep, dark forest. Now, this man had no money to buy any food. And there weren't any jewel food stores in the deep, dark forest, so he had to go down into that deep, dark forest and hunt for his supper. So one morning, he called to his 3 hound dogs. Let's see if they remember. He shouted, You know! Woo! I know! Woof! Come to Go Calico! Oh! Yes! Hound dogs, stand up. We have to go hunting down the deep, dark forest. You can stand up here. Get your paws up here like this, because you're hound dogs. You have paws. Get your noses ready, okay? And, oh, wait a minute. Scratch for fleas and ticks. It's flea and tick season. We live in deep, dark forest, and I can't afford frontline. Let's go! Follow me! Walk this way. Or that way. Whatever way you want to walk this way. They walked into the deep, dark forest. But after an entire day of hunting, when the wind began to blow cold and the sun set, come Sunday 1 hour earlier than normal. Oh, the only thing that these 3 hound dogs had caught for this old man's supper was this one funny-looking, skinny old jackrabbit. Oh, hound dogs, I'm afraid we may go to bed hungry tonight. When the man got inside, he took that funny-looking, skinny old jackrabbit, dropped it into the cooking pot. He cooked up funny-looking, skinny old jackrabbit stew. He ate it. There wasn't very much, but wait, there were 3 bones left. Now, I know, kids, we people don't eat bones, but he was so thought about it. And then he thought about his hound dogs, whom he loved very much. He looked at his 3 hound dogs, and they gave him a very hungry hound dog face. Oh, way to work it there. Nice, Jenna, way to work it. Don't crack, don't crack. Okay. How many bones are there in the pot? How many hound dogs does the man have? Do the math. 1 each, there you go. Sorry, it's Friday night, I shouldn't do that, parents. Okay, so he grabbed, and he said, You know! Here, have a bone. Good paw work. And I know. Woof. Yes, here, have a bone. 2 paws. And Come to Go Calico. Oh. Yes, have a bone. Whoa, quick. Good. Come here, hound dogs. You can come back and sit right down here on the porch. Those hound dogs had their bones. Those hound dogs were happy. But the man was not happy. He was still... He tried to sleep, but... Okay, are you willing to admit this? Raise your hand if this is what happened. You ever have those funny tummy sounds? When your tummy growls, don't skip a meal, please. Don't. No, I know it's embarrassing in certain social situations. Tried to sleep, but he couldn't. What's that? Excuse me. What is that? The man looked, he saw something. A curious creature creeped through a crack in the cabin wall. That curious creature that crept through that crack in the cabin wall, that curious creature, it had a big, long, furry tail. Well, the man was still hungry. So he had an idea, see? He walked down towards that big, long, furry tail. Got closer to the big, long. Grabbed him! He grabbed that thing, but it jumped and ran away. When he looked down, he could see he was holding a big, long, furry. I don't have to tell you smart people what he did with that big, long, furry tail. He was so hungry, he took that big, long, furry tail, he dropped it in the cooking pot, he cooked it up, and yes, he did, he ate that big, long, furry tail. And now, I want you to make a really bad face. Think of something you ate that was really, really gross and go, you know what I think about? I think about the way my mom made Brussels sprouts back in the late 60s. Drop them in a pot of boiling water, leave them there for 4 hours. Come on, my Scottish friends, haggis. But his tummy stopped growling, he went to bed. Until about, what's a good time for a ghost story? I've never told this story. Oh, midnight, let's go with midnight. It's midnight, so it's really scary at midnight because it's a scary time. And he heard a sound coming from the deep, dark forest, a sound that took him back to grammar school, elementary school, when the teacher would accidentally slip with the chalk and the fingernails. You ready? Let me hear you. And a voice said, Taily Poe, Taily Poe, all I want is my Taily Poe. Wait a minute, I have hound dogs to protect me, thought the man. He called you now! I know! Come to go, Calico. Hound dogs or something outside, I need you to help. Here, stand up all the way, let's get you on your feet this time. Put your paws up here like this. Check with your noses, check for fleas and ticks. And come on, follow me! Run! And they ran! And they chased! And they chased! And they kept going, and going, and going, and chasing, and chasing. They chased that thing, whatever it was, back down into the deep, dark... Hound dogs, come on down here into the deep, dark forest. They did. You could sit right here, hound dogs, and face this way. They went down into that deep, dark forest, but they didn't come back. Doggies. The man was all by himself, no dogs to protect him. He went inside his small cabin in the deep, dark forest. He closed the door. He locked the door. He used to live in Chicago. He went to sleep until about 3:37 a.m. It was pretty dark and quiet. This time, it was inside, like fingernails running down the chalkboard. And the voice said, say it with me, Taily Poe, Taily Poe, I'm here to get my Taily Poe. I don't have your Taily Poe. I ate it. And whatever that thing was ran away. It's so disgusting. And the 3 hound dogs, I know, Calico, why they came on back home, thank goodness. And I know, Calico. Ow! Oh yes, and they had a wonderful Halloween. The end. Take a bow, Miss Jenna, Miss Jordan, Miss Denario. Nicely done, 7th grade. Way to go. Nicely done, Miss 3rd grade. Be careful as you walk down those stairs. Watch out for the Taily Poe. Don't fall. Safety first. Taily Poe is an old ghost story. I heard a lot of great storytellers tell that story. Really creepy. I got scared. Were you scared? I think if you can tell a little story, kids, if you can tell a story all by yourself, then you can raise your hand in the classroom. Though that helped me. Yeah, being on the stage and memorizing my lines, that helped me feel very comfortable and confident in the classroom. Because I used to be a really shy student. And then I felt comfortable because I could tell this story. It's a ghost story. So maybe some of you older kids will enjoy telling this. Older kids, raise your hand if you have a younger brother or sister. Okay, it's just a small ghost story. It's just a little ghost story. I'll tell it once, and then you guys can do it any way you want. Some people say that this is just a teeny... Once upon a time, there lived a teeny tiny woman. And the teeny tiny woman lived all by herself, of course, in a teeny tiny house. Now, one day, the teeny tiny woman, she wanted to leave her teeny tiny house to take a teeny tiny walk. So she put on her tea-tight coat. She buttoned her teeny tiny buttons. She grabbed her tea-tight basket. She left her tea-tiny house through the teeny tiny front door. And the teeny tiny woman walked a teeny tiny way down the teeny tiny street until she came to a teeny tiny gate. She opened the teeny. And the teeny tiny woman walked into a teeny tiny yard. And there, on the ground, the teeny tiny woman saw with her two teeny tiny, a teeny tiny box. Well, she reached down with her two teeny tiny. She picked up that teeny tiny. She opened the teeny tiny lid. And there, inside the teeny tiny box, the teeny tiny woman saw a teeny tiny bone. Well, isn't that special? This teeny tiny bone will make a teeny tiny soup for my teeny tiny supper because, kids, I'm feeling a teeny tiny bit. So the teeny tiny woman closed the teeny tiny lid on the teeny tiny box with the teeny tiny bone inside. She took the teeny tiny box with the teeny tiny bone inside. She put it into a teeny tiny basket. She left the teeny tiny yard through the teeny tiny gate. She walked down the teeny tiny street. She came back to her teeny tiny house. She opened her teeny tiny front door. You want to help? You want to hear it in Spanish? She walked up her teeny tiny stairs. She opened her teeny tiny bedroom door. That door she had fixed. But now the teeny tiny woman felt a teeny tiny bit tired or sleepy. Sleepy, tired, which one? Either one? Are those two different words that mean the same thing? What do you call that, kid? Two different words that mean the same thing. Cinnamon. Yeah, I had cinnamon toast this morning. It was great. Okay, so, sure. And wait a minute. She decided to take a teeny tiny... Oh, parents, remember that? No, it was time for that. But first, before she took the teeny tiny nap, the teeny woman reached into a teeny tiny basket. She took out that teeny tiny box, the teeny tiny... You know what inside. And she placed it into a teeny tiny cupboard. She locked it tightly. She got into a teeny tiny bed. She pulled up her teeny tiny covers. She fluffed up her teeny tiny. She flipped that pillow over to the cold side. She took a teeny tiny nap. But a teeny tiny bit later, the teeny tiny woman awoke because she heard a teeny tiny voice. Coming from the teeny tiny cupboard, inside which is the teeny tiny box, inside which is the teeny tiny... And the teeny tiny voice said... Teeny tiny was a teeny bit scared, so she pulled her teeny tiny covers up a teeny bit tighter, but the teeny tiny voice got a teeny bit closer. And closer. Give me my bone. And closer. Give. And all those right by her ear. Now, it was whispering in her ear. It was whispering. Go to McDonald's and get a Happy Meal. She did. She got a Happy Meal. She got a little toy, and she lived happily ever. We're okay? Now, older kids, if you can tell that story, if you could tell that story, you could feel very comfortable sharing your opinions, your ideas from what you're studying at school. I think that's important. But I was asking if you had a younger brother and sister. I was teasing, that's my sense of humor. No. Seriously, because parents are here. Don't share that with a 2.5-year-old. Wait a minute, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. I know, 7th grade. I know who you could share that story with. Hello? Hi. Great Grandma. Is everything okay, Great Grandma? Yeah, I know it's late. It's late, it's dark, it's Halloween, you're 104 years old, and you live alone. Want to hear a story? The Teeny Tiny Ghost Story. Teeny Tiny Woman Ghost Story. I found that in a teeny tiny book. I found that teeny book in the great big Waukegan Public Library. Probably has a copy. You can find it at the library and check it. Say it together. Check it. Good, now full drunk, say it the way we do in Chicago. Check it out. It's not too far from the Taylor Poe Ghost Story. Oh, Miss Megan Wells, thank you so much. You guys were great. Thank you very much for having me.
How about a great big round of applause for Chris Fascione. Thank you. Fabulous. You having a good time? All right, here comes more ooey gooey. Please welcome to the stage, Linda Gorham.
Hey! How are you? I have to ask you a question. Is anybody going to eat candy today? You are? But it's not good for you. There's no protein. It's too much sugar. I know it tastes good, but I'm trying to help you. I have a suggestion. I've been doing some research, and I think that, okay, I know you got some Halloween candy, but tomorrow morning you should have a really nice, healthy meal. Here's what I suggest. I think you should start the breakfast off with something just warm and tasty, full of protein, something like 6 round plates of soft, squishy zebra snot, all mixed up with oyster eyes, served on top of dog poo pies. 6 round plates of soft, squishy zebra snot, and you should use a spoon. That's your line next time we do it. You should use a spoon. Now that would be a good breakfast. Adults, don't you agree? Yes, I like that. Now for the lunchtime, I think you don't want to go to the candy bag. You want to still be good and full of protein. Maybe something like 12 thick chunks of pickled pink piranha lips. Patriotic parrot poop. No? Tantalizing toe jam soup. 12 thick chunks of pickled pink piranha lips, and you should use a spoon. I'm not done. Dinner. Dinner is the best meal of the day. If you eat a good dinner, you will sleep well. You'll wake up in the morning. You won't be hungry, you know. It's not like that sugar high that lets you go down and up and down. I think you should have something really good like 5 fine flecks of funky, fishy pheasant feet. Tantalizing. You don't want to know. 5 fine flecks of funky, fishy pheasant feet. I forgot the next line that comes, but I bet it was really gross. 5 fine flecks of funky, fishy pheasant feet, and you should use a spoon. If I think of it, I'll tell you later. You can clap. Well, do you like gross things? Disgusting things? Scary things? Creepy stories? I'm gonna give you one anyway. Yeah. It's creepy. It's weird. It's freaky. It's about a girl. She had problems. Her name was Nellie, and Nellie had problems. You know anybody that has problems? Oh, yeah. You know what? No one knew what Nellie's problem was, but they knew she had problems. Nellie was about 12 years, oh, she was 16. She was 16 years old. She was about 5 feet 4 inches tall, about 125 pounds. She had brown curly hair, and when she smiled, there was a dimple in one cheek, and there was a little gap between her teeth. It was really cute. And Nellie was friendly, and she was nice. She lived in a very small town in southern Illinois. And Nellie was a good person, but something wasn't right. And people didn't quite know what that was. You see, after school every day, Nellie would go to work in her parents' bakery. And she was the best baker. She was even a better baker than her mother and her father. And she was really good at decorating fancy cakes, like wedding cakes, you know? And she had won designs for her chocolate work. She was excellent. But even though people liked going there, they liked talking to her, they loved her cakes, something wasn't right. All the boys who took her out on dates, after the first date, they were never the same. Let me tell you what happened. The first boy that took her out, now he was a senior in high school. He was ready to get a 4-year scholarship at Harvard University, a free ride. He was a scholar, he was an athlete, he was a great student. But he took Nellie out in March of his senior year. And after that date, after that one date, he dropped out of school. He joined the Army. He never spoke about the date, but everybody wondered what happened to him. Now the next boy who took her out, he was her next door neighbor. They had known each other their whole lives, but one day he looked at Nellie. He said, "Oh, I just noticed Nellie is hot." So he asked her out. But after that one date, that family that lived next door put a for sale sign up in their front yard. And within a week, they had moved from southern Illinois all the way to California. And he never spoke about the date. I know, it's freaky. Something's wrong with that girl, you're right. And the third boy who took her out, he cannot speak. He has lost his ability to speak, and now he spends his days huddled on the floor in a corner of a small room at the Illinois State Asylum for the Insane. Whoa. Guess what? Nobody asked Nellie out after that. All those people in town, they gave her a nickname. They called her One Date Nellie. And they talked about her behind her back. They said, "You hear about Nellie? She goes out with those boys and they're never the same." "Yeah, I heard about her. Something must be wrong with her." "Yeah, I heard that too. I think she's crazy. I think something's wrong with her. During the day, she's okay." "Yeah, during the day, she's okay. But at night, something wrong with her at night." "Yeah, maybe when the moon comes out. Maybe she gets freaky when the moon comes out." "Yeah, maybe she's a werewolf." "A werewolf? Could she be a werewolf? I thought boys were werewolves." "Oh, I don't know. She can't be a werewolf if she's a girl." "Oh, I know. Maybe she's a witch. Yeah, maybe Nellie is a witch." Well, a new family moved into that small town. It was a husband, a wife, and one son. He was 17 years old. He was a senior in high school. He did not want to move to southern Illinois, but his father was transferred, and he had to leave the big city of Chicago to go down to this little town that he called Podunk, Illinois. He was not happy at all. Well, while the moving van was unloading all those things, that boy said, "Well, I might as well go look into this town." Now, their house was only a couple of blocks from the center of town, so he said, "Well, I'll just walk around and see what's here, this little old chunk town." And he was walking through the main street, which was really tiny, and he came to Nellie's bakery. And Nellie was in the window decorating a wedding cake. And he looked at the cake, but then he looked at Nellie. Nellie wasn't paying any attention to him in the beginning, you know. But then she looked up and she saw him, and even though he was attracted to her, she wasn't really attracted to him because his hair looked like someone put a bowl on his head and then just cut it. It was kind of brown and dirty and it kind of like this roundish thing going on. It wasn't very attractive. And he was wearing a t-shirt that was kind of old, from an old band that was long defunct, and it wasn't like a cool old band, it was an old band, so it wasn't even something that would appeal to anybody anymore. But when he smiled, it was a nice smile, a warm smile. So Nellie smiled back, and when he saw her, his name was Jonathan, when he saw her, and he saw that dimple in her cheek, and he saw that little gap in her teeth, he said, "Oh, I like her." And he went in and he bought some cupcakes. He did not want any cupcakes. You know what he wanted? To talk to Nellie. And they did. They talked for a long time and they had a whole lot of fun talking and they had a lot in common and it was really nice. And at the end of their conversation, Jonathan asked Nellie out. And Nellie said, yes. Well, that very night they went out. They went to a movie, and after the movie they went to the diner. There was only one diner in town. And they both ordered hamburgers and french fries. And Jonathan said to the server, he said, "I want my hamburger rare. Just pass it over the flame real quick." And Nellie said, "I'd like my hamburger well done." Now, when the food came, Jonathan scarfed down his hamburger and was eating his french fries, and he looked over at Nellie's plate. He said, Nellie, you haven't even touched your food." She said, "It's okay. I'm not hungry now." He said, "Can I eat your french fries?" She said, "Sure." So he reached over, he was eating her french fries, and he said, Nellie, did you notice something? Everybody at the movie theater was staring at me. And everybody here, they're looking at me too and pointing at me and making faces. What's that all about?" "Oh, Jonathan, the people in this town, see, you've never lived in a small town before. They're so nosy. They should call this town Nosy, Illinois. They just want to know, who are you? They've never saw you before, and they want to know your whole story. They'll be getting in your business real soon. I can't stand these people always getting in people's business. Just ignore them." "Well, it might be because I'm new, Nellie. But it also might be because I'm out with the prettiest girl in town." "Oh, Jonathan." "It's true. You have gorgeous green eyes. And when you smile, your little gap in your little teeth, it's so cute." "Oh, that's nice." So they finished eating. And you know Jonathan was going to walk her home, right? Right. Young ladies, always have the guy walk you home. But carry some money in case you need a cab. He walked her home and she said, "Oh, you know what? Instead of going this way, let's make a little shortcut through the cornfield." So they did. They were walking down Main Street where the lights were, and then when they got close to the cornfield, well, the lights were kind of dim. And Jonathan's hand was kind of sweaty because he was a little bit nervous, but he reached over and he grabbed Nellie's hand and she squeezed his hand and he liked it. And just before they got into the cornfield, Jonathan turned to Nellie. He said, "Nellie, you're so sweet. I could eat you up. Can I kiss you?" You know what she said. "Yes." That's how they do it. "Yes." And he kissed her a little too hard for a first date, if you ask me, but he did kiss her. And then they walked through the cornfield, and they came to an iron gate. "What's this? What's this doing in the middle of a cornfield?" "It's okay, Jonathan. Come on, let's go through." "Wait a minute, this is weird. Is this a cemetery?" "Come on, Jonathan. You said you liked me, right?" "Yeah, I did. Okay." So they pushed open that iron gate and they walked to the back of that cemetery. It was old and hadn't been used much, or not lately, or so it seemed, until they got to a mound of dirt, and there was a shovel right by it. Nellie grabbed that shovel and she started digging into that mound of dirt. Nellie, what are you doing? You shouldn't be here. We shouldn't be here. Let's go, Nellie. This is weird. I don't like this, Nellie. It's okay. You said you like me, right? Yeah, I did. And she continued to dig and dig and dig until that shovel hit something hard. And then she dug out all of the dirt, revealing a small child-size coffin. Nellie, we need to go. This is not good, Nellie. This is not cool. You said you liked me. And she fell to her knees. And she slowly picked up the lid of that coffin, just enough for her to stick her hand inside. And Jonathan heard a snap. And then he saw her pull out what looked to be a foot of a brown-skinned child. She held it up, and in the moonlight, it looked almost fresh, almost alive. And then he watched her bring that foot to her mouth, and she bit off 3 toes. Nellie! If you like me, Jonathan, you'll eat what I like to eat. Her bright green eyes were now slanted and sinister, and that smile looked evil. But Jonathan reached down toward her hand. He grabbed it, held it up to his own hand, and he bit off the remaining 3 toes. Nellie, what is this? Is it chocolate? And what's inside? Is that strawberry filling? Oh, Jonathan, you're brave. You're the only boy that played my little game. I like you, Jonathan. I'll go out with you again. They won't call me one day Nellie no more. I know what they say behind my back. Jonathan's eyes narrowed. He picked up that spade. That's a nice game, Nellie. I like the real thing. He brought it down hard, severing her left foot. Creepy.
Are any of you named Nellie? Oh, good. Thank you, Linda. Now we will bring to the stage Beth Horner, and we're going to have a personal story told, which is really, really fun. Please put your hands together for Beth Horner.
Linda's story really scared me. Did it scare you? Give yourself a hug. I'm gonna give myself a hug. I want to tell you a story that is absolutely, completely, seriously, 100%. I promise I wouldn't lie to you. I'm not kidding. It's true. And I know it's true because I was there when it happened. Now, you see, when I was a little girl, I didn't live in the big city of Chicago like I do now. No, instead, I lived with my mom and my dad and my brothers and my sister, and we lived way everybody else. We lived so far away from everybody else. There were so few kids that lived anywhere near we did that the school I went to in first grade only had one room in it. One room. There was first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth grade, one teacher for all 8 grades, and there were 4 of us in first grade. And every day, my older brother and my older sister and I, we'd get ready for school. We left my little brother at home because he was too little for school. And we'd get ready for school, and my older brother and sister and I would go out, and my sister could whistle really well. We'd go outside in the yard where the fence was, and she would whistle, whoosh, whoosh, and over to the fence would come this great, big, very old, gentle horse. And the horse's name was Dale, because my sister had been to my cousin's house and seen a TV show called The Roy Rogers Show. And in there was this lady named Dale. So we named the horse Dale. So every morning, my sister would whistle, whoosh, whoosh, over to the fence would come Dale right up next to the fence. And then my sister, she would climb on top of the fence, and she would climb on top of the horse, and she would hold on to the horse's mane, which is like the hair at the horse's neck, so she wouldn't fall off. And then it was my brother's turn, and he would climb up on the fence, and he would climb on the horse, and he would put his arms around my sister so he wouldn't fall off. And then it was my turn, first grade. One thing about first grade is you're littler than the third graders. And I was littler than my brother and my sister. And I would climb up on top of the fence, and I would see I had a big problem here. Because there were already 2 people on this horse. The only place left for me to sit on the horse was the biggest, widest part of the horse. The big rump of the horse. Right above those 2 big back legs. And I would say to my brother and sister, I'd say, hey, I can't sit on the big wide rump of the horse. It's too big and I'm too little. See, I have little short legs because I'm in first. They would say, would you get on the horse? I said, that's not very nice. You're supposed to take care of me. Mom and Dad said take care of me, and you're not being nice. Would you get on the horse? No, so I'm not. Would you get on the horse? Okay, but I'm gonna be mean to you when I get bigger. I'm gonna be really mean, and I'm gonna tell on you. And I climbed up the top, and I stopped, and I got on the horse. My legs stuck straight out. And I reached around and I put my arms around my brother so I wouldn't fall off. And we'd start riding the horse to school. And we'd ride across the field and downhill, and then we had to go through a creek. Now, of course, the creek had water in it, and it also had stones that were smooth, and our horse was strong and very sure-footed, but every once in a while, that horse would trip a little bit on those smooth stones underneath the water. And every single time that horse tripped, because I was on the back and I could barely hold on, I ended up in the creek. Get back on the horse. Like, all right. Every day I go to school, and the entire first grade class, all 3 other kids would make fun of me. So one day, as we're coming toward the creek, I said, I'm not falling off this horse. I'm not going to school wet today. So I reached out and I held double tight to my brother. And he said, what are you doing? I didn't tell him. I'm not going to tell him. I'm not falling off this horse. Well, sure enough, we're just coming up out of the creek bed. I was holding so tight, the horse, we both ended up in the water. That was kind of fun. I was still wet. So the next day, as we're coming toward the creek, my superior brain power went through the air and hit my brother in the head, and he got the same idea as me. So when I reached out, I said, I'm not falling off this horse, and I held to him triple tight. He said, oh yeah, I get it now. He reached out and he held quadruple tight to my sister, and she said, what are you doing? But she was holding on to the mane, so I knew we wouldn't fall off. But sure enough, we get to the very deepest part of the creek, and the horse, we all 3 ended up in the creek. Power from the rump of the horse. Now, house that we lived in was a great, big, old farmhouse. We had no electricity in our house. So we had no television in our house. We had no lights in our house. We had no telephone in our house. We had no central heat in our house. We also didn't have any pipes bringing water into our house. And we didn't have any pipes carrying other stuff out of our house. You guessed it. We didn't have a sink. We didn't have a shower. We didn't have a toilet. That in itself is scary enough for any Halloween. But we did have an outhouse. And our outhouse, you had to go through the backyard and over the fence and into the outhouse, and it was very modern for the day. It was a two-holer, so you never got lonely out there, but that's another story. At any rate, well, sometimes I would be asleep at night. Now, we 4 kids, because I had a little brother too, we 4 kids, we slept up in the attic of the house. The attic was one big, long room, and one end of the attic was painted pink, and that's where we 2 kids had our beds. The ceiling, the floor, everything was pink. And the other end was painted green, and that's where the 2 boys had their beds, and the middle part was yellow, and that was the playroom of the attic. Now, to get up to the attic, when we first moved to that old farmhouse, there was no staircase. So to get up to the attic, you had to go into the kitchen. And in the kitchen, there was a great big closet called a pantry. It wasn't like modern pantries. It was a great big closet, and it was dark in there because we didn't have any electricity. So to get up to the attic, you went in the kitchen. You opened up the pantry door. You felt along the wall to the very back wall. On the back wall, there was a ladder nailed to the back wall, and you climb up the ladder to a square hole up in the ceiling. And when you got to the top, you'd come out in the attic right where the yellow met the green. Well, sometimes I would be asleep at night up there in the attic. Now, in the summertime, it was kind of hot up there. But it got to be about this time of year, October, and the wind began to blow, and the air grew cold. It got so cold up in the attic, because we didn't have any heat up in the attic. The only heat that we had in our house was in the kitchen. We had a wood-burning stove that my mom and dad cooked our food on. And in the living room, we had a coal-burning stove. You know what coal is, right? It's kind of black. It's like charcoal briquettes, but it's irregularly shaped. And so that's the kind of heat we had in the living room. But in the attic, we didn't have any heat. It was cold up there. Sometimes I would be asleep at night in the cool October about this time of year, and I would wake up and I would think, oh no. And I would close my eyes really tight thinking that would help. Oh no. So then I would do what my brother taught me, which is cross my legs. Oh, no. Well, you know what the deal was. I had to go to the bathroom, but I did not want to go out into that outhouse. It was dark out there. And it was dark in the attic. We didn't have any night lights. We didn't have any lights. It was dark. And outside, we didn't have any lights. We didn't have any street lights. There weren't any streets. We didn't have any yard lights. There was no electricity. It was dark. But I had to go to the bathroom. And I would look over at my sister, thinking she would help me because she was my big sister. You know? But there she would be. Impossible to wake up, and I would have to go by myself. So I'd say, okay, and I'd get up, and it was cold, cold, cold. And I'd tiptoe tiptoe across the pink part of the attic. And I tiptoe across the yellow part of the attic. I start feeling around for the top of that ladder because, I didn't want to fall down the hole. And I find the top of the ladder, went down in the dark of the pantry. I really had to go. And I feel my way along the wall. I'd open up the door out into the kitchen. And I'd start tiptoeing across the kitchen. Open up the door to the outside, which was dark. The wind was blowing. And I'd walk through the yard and over the fence and into the outhouse, which was really dark and had another hole I didn't want to fall down. I felt better when I came out of the outhouse. I felt much better, and I'd start walking through the yard back toward the house. And sometimes I could get a feeling about halfway back to the house that something was behind me. I couldn't really hear anything. Was it the wind? Some leaves blew in front of me. No, I had to see what it was. So I turned around, and there, in the dark at the edge of the yard, I could see two little red lights. And as I stood there in the yard, those lights could come closer and closer and closer until BAM! I was just knocked over by the most terrifying animal on our farm. Now, you might think a terrifying animal was a bull. You might think a terrifying animal was a horse. You might think it was a cow. Now, I had a pet cow named Birthday Cake. It was not a cow. Somebody once said it must be a chicken. No. Or a rooster. Roosters are mean. Geese are mean. But no, this was the most terrifying animal on our farm. The most terrifying animal. The animal we were more scared of than any other animal was a sheep. Okay, I mean, not just any sheep. It was the buck sheep. The male sheep with long curly horns and little red beady eyes, also called a ram. And a ram was a very good name for the buck sheep because the buck sheep lived for one thing: to knock you over. Bam! I would get knocked over and I'd go in and I wasn't tiptoeing anymore. And I'd say, I need some help. And my dad would come and get the buck sheep back in the buck sheep pen. But the latch to the gate of the buck sheep pen, it didn't work very well. And the buck sheep kept getting out. So finally my dad took some barbed wire and wired that gate shut so the buck sheep could not get out. Yay! But at the end of the month of October is when we started lighting up that coal stove. Now, every one of us kids had chores, and my chore was to milk the goat. But it was my older brother Richard's job in the fall and the winter and the spring to get coal from the coal bin and bring it into the living room for the coal-burning stove. The only problem was, to get to the entrance to the coal bin, you had to go through the buck sheep pen. And every single day, my brother would take two big coal buckets and he would climb over the fence into the bam, he would get knocked over. And we would say, I wonder if it's gonna happen today. You think Richard will get knocked? Bam, he'd get knocked over. And we started taking bets. I'll bet you a piece of candy and 2 pieces of bread, he won't get, bam, he'd get knocked over. And I think, boy, I'm glad I don't have to go in there and bam, get knocked over. Now, It didn't hurt him too much, but it wasn't much fun for him. Oh, it was kind of fun for the rest of us kids, you know. We didn't have a TV or anything. And, well, anyway, one day, my mom said to Richard, you know, Richard, there's a secret trick to the buck sheep. You don't have to get knocked over. Yeah, said Richard, you go in there, you try not getting knocked over by the buck sheep. He said, no. It's called instinct, said Mom. Instinct, something you're born with, and the buck sheep is born to knock things over. I know, said Richard, I know. You're not telling me anything new. She said, but the buck sheep's instinct also says it has to charge at you. I know, said Richard. I know you're not telling me anything. But, said my mom, if when you go into the buck sheep pen, here's what you should do, Richard. Climb up onto the fence like you always do. Look around, and she told him something I didn't understand. She said, case the joint. Look around. When you see the buck sheep, climb down and go get right in front of the buck sheep. Now, you're going to be okay. If the buck sheep knocks you over, it's not going to hurt very much. But when you're in trouble, Richard, is if it darts backing up. Because that's its instinct. So, Richard, she said, if you go there, case the joint, get right in front of the buck sheep, and if it takes a step back, Richard, you just take a step forward. If it goes back, you take a step forward. If it goes back, you take a step, and it can't charge at you. Yeah. She went away, and Richard said, no way. I'd be staring right into the eyes of the buck sheep. That's a nice theory, but I'm not doing that. So bam, he just got knocked over. Well, one day after getting knocked over, he gathered the rest of us kids together, and he said, I'm not crying or anything. I'm not crying. I'm just saying, I'm tired of getting knocked over by this buck sheep. So I'm just saying that maybe tomorrow. And then he got a look on his face that we'd never seen before. Maybe tomorrow, I'm gonna face down the buck sheep. Wow! Excitement on the farm. Like I said, we didn't have a TV. This was so exciting. So the next day, it was windy and the leaves were blowing, and we were going to go out the next day, and we were going to go trick-or-treating and all that stuff. And so we wanted to have some fun to get ready for Halloween the next day. So we said, okay, Richard, okay, you're going to face down the buck sheep. So we put on hats and scarves and boots, and we tromped through the yard, and we followed Richard, and we climbed up, and we hung on the fence to see what was going to happen. And we saw Richard climb up on the fence. He looked at us. Do what we thought. He might get creamed, but at least we'd be entertained. So he did. He cased the joint. He saw the buck sheep. He went right in front of the buck sheep. Wow, he did it. Just like Mom said, the minute Richard got there, the buck sheep stood up, put its head down, and took a step back. Richard looked at us. He stepped forward. Hey, it worked, because the buck sheep had to take a step back. Then Richard took a step forward, and the buck sheep took a step back, and Richard took a step forward, and buck sheep, oh wow, it was working. We were so excited, we started, yay, Richard, our hero Richard, facing down the buck sheep. The buck sheep went back, and Richard went forward. The buck sheep went back, and Richard went forward. The buck sheep went back. Richard did not move. He had been staring at that buck sheep right in the eyes, and we could see his courage was starting to seep out. So he said, Richard, we are telling you, we love you, we are your siblings, and we do not want you to die. Move forward. So he did. He heard us, and he moved forward, and then the buck sheep went back, and Richard completely froze. But not the buck sheep. The buck sheep went back and back and back, and we were screaming, Richard, you could possibly die! Richard! The buck sheep went back and back and back, and then no matter how much we screamed Richard was frozen there, the buck sheep put its head down and started charging toward Richard. And we were screaming, Richard! And just as the buck sheep got up to Richard, Richard later said, he thought, whoa, maybe I better do something. Now, he couldn't go backwards. If he went backwards, the buck sheep would plow right over him. And if he went forward, he'd fall right into the buck sheep. So Richard decided the only thing he could do to escape the buck sheep would be to jump over the buck sheep. So here's what we saw hanging on the fence. Here was Richard. Here came the buck sheep. But all of a sudden, Richard jumped straight up in the air and came straight down, but he didn't make it over the buck sheep. He landed right on top of the buck sheep. And when he landed backwards. When he landed, the buck sheep bucked up in the air, started running around the pen. And Richard's coal buckets went flying. And the only thing he could hold on to, because he was backwards, the buck sheep's tail. Wow! So he was screaming, help, help! So we got some corn cobs. We started throwing them at the buck sheep. We missed the buck sheep. We hit Richard 70 times. He said, stop it! And the buck sheep threw him, and he landed, boom! And the buck sheep went over and sat down. Is he dead? But he wasn't. I went over and I said, are you dead? And he sat up and he said, bah. We loved our brother Richard, and we took care of him from then on. He was our new hero. Our brother Richard had faced down the most terrifying animal on the farm. Our brother Richard, say it with me, had faced down, are you ready? The buck sheep. And that is a true story. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Fascione, Linda Gorham, and Beth Horner. Thank you. Happy Halloween!